It began like any other spring morning, sunlight streaming through the leaves, dew glistening on petals, and the gentle warmth of a new day spreading across the garden. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the familiar hum of bees, weaving their invisible patterns through the air. Bees, the lifeblood of the day, tumbled from flower to flower, their legs heavy with golden pollen. Each tiny worker played its part, collecting nectar and dusting petals, ensuring the cycle of life continued. Honeybees zipped between blossoms, working tirelessly to build their golden kingdom. Inside their hives, they crafted intricate honeycombs, storing the sweetness of spring for the days ahead. Their buzzing was the soundtrack to life, a promise of sweetness and growth. It was a melody that tied together every living thing, from the smallest flower to the tallest tree. Farmers smiled at the hum, knowing it meant a good harvest. The bees' presence was a silent agreement between nature and people, a sign that the earth was healthy and generous. We planted flowers for them, delighted by their arrival. Children chased them through gardens, families watched them dance in the sunlight, and everyone felt a little more hopeful with each gentle buzz. Bees were more than insects. They were a symbol of a thriving planet. Their tiny wings carried the weight of entire ecosystems, connecting plants, animals, and people in a delicate balance. Their presence reassured us that nature was in balance. As long as the bees were here, the world felt right, alive, harmonious, and full of promise. But then, in an instant, it happened, a moment so subtle yet so profound that it changed everything. There was no bang, no explosion, just a sudden, deafening silence. The familiar hum that had always filled the air was gone. One moment, the air was alive with buzzing wings. The next, nothing. The flowers stood still, untouched, as if holding their breath. The hum vanished, as if someone had flipped a switch and silenced the world's orchestra. The bees were gone, not just from one garden, but everywhere. All at once, across fields, forests, and cities, the buzzing stopped. Every single bee on the planet disappeared without a trace. Hives stood empty, flowers waited in vain, and the world felt suddenly incomplete. The world was left in a terrifying, unnatural quiet, a silence that echoed with loss, and a question that no one could answer. Where had all the bees gone? The first day felt oddly peaceful, as if the world was holding its breath. The sun shone, the breeze was gentle, and everything seemed calm. But beneath that calm, something was missing, an absence that was hard to name at first. People noticed the stillness, the way the air seemed heavier, but dismissed it as just a quiet day. The usual background hum was gone, but life went on, at least for now. We made excuses. Maybe the bees were late, maybe it was too windy, or perhaps they were hiding from the early spring chill. No one wanted to believe something was truly wrong. By the second day, unease crept in. Conversations grew quieter, and people exchanged worried glances. The silence was no longer peaceful. It was unsettling. Orchards stood untouched, their blossoms waiting for visitors who never came. Flower fields, usually alive with buzzing, were eerily still. The world felt paused, as if nature itself was waiting. Scientists and farmers raised the alarm, finding empty hives and no clues. The beekeepers searched for answers, but the bees had vanished without a trace, leaving only silence behind. It was as if bees had been erased from existence, wiped clean from every garden, every field, every memory of spring. Nature changed subtly at first, then shockingly fast. The landscapes we took for granted began to shift, colors fading, petals drooping, life slowing down. Flowers that needed bees for pollination began to fade, their blossoms closing early, their colors dulling. The promise of fruit and seeds was slipping away. Without bees, they couldn't create seeds or the next generation. The cycle of life was broken, and the future of countless plants was suddenly uncertain. Other insects tried to help, fluttering from flower to flower, but there weren't enough of them. The task was impossible, the burden too great for so few. News channels reported on the Great Silence. Headlines flashed across screens, experts debated, and the world watched in disbelief as the crisis unfolded. Children asked, "Where did the fuzzy bees go?" Their innocent questions echoed the confusion of adults who had no answers to give. The question hung in the air, unanswered. The silence grew heavier, pressing on every heart. We realized, too late, that the tiny creatures we'd ignored were vital. Their absence was a wound in the world, one we could all feel. The world was beginning to understand what it had lost, a silent spring, and the fragile balance that held everything together. The world began to lose its color. Flowers, once vibrant, drooped and faded without their buzzing partners. Wild meadows became seas of dull green and brown. The intricate tapestry of wildflowers unraveled, starving insects and birds. The silence of bees was echoed by the silence of birds. Even our gardens mourned the loss. The absence of bees was more than missing flowers. It was missing life. The fading colors warned us. The engine of our planet was failing. The beauty of a flower is a promise of food and continuity. As colors faded, so did that promise. Silence in the fields led to silence in the markets. Berries vanished first, then apples, almonds, and more. Farmers' markets emptied. Supermarket shelves showed gaping holes. The variety we took for granted disappeared. The economic impact was catastrophic. Farms failed, jobs vanished. Governments scrambled to feed their people. Our civilization was balanced on the wings of a tiny insect. Food prices soared. Fresh produce became a luxury. Diets shrank to bland grains, wheat and rice. People grew weaker, more susceptible to illness. The joy of sharing a meal faded. Empty baskets led to empty plates. Hunger spread across the world. The loss was personal and immediate. To truly grasp the scale of the catastrophe, we first need to understand the delicate science of pollination, a process that quietly sustains life on Earth. Flowers, rooted in place, rely on a remarkable partnership. They need pollen from another flower to reproduce, but they can't move or reach out on their own. Enter the bees, nature's perfect messengers. As they buzz from blossom to blossom in search of sweet nectar, they unwittingly carry precious pollen with them, connecting flowers across fields and meadows. When a bee lands on a flower, tiny grains of pollen cling to its fuzzy body, hitching a ride to the next bloom. As the bee visits another flower, some of that pollen rubs off onto the new blossom's stigma. This simple act completes pollination, allowing the flower to create seeds and fruit. But without bees, this ancient process comes to a halt. The flowers, no matter how vibrant or fragrant, are left waiting in vain. Flowers open their petals, offer up their nectar, and wait for visitors that never arrive. Their silent hope turns to disappointment. The pollen remains trapped inside, unable to fulfill its purpose. The flower's reason for being, reproduction and renewal, remains unfulfilled. Eventually, the flower wilts and dies, taking with it the potential for new life. The cycle is broken before it can even begin. Bees weren't just a small part of nature. They were the linchpin, the tiny workers holding together entire ecosystems and food webs. About 1/3 of all the food we eat, fruits, vegetables, nuts, depends directly on pollinators like bees. Without them, our plates would look shockingly empty. When bees vanished, it wasn't just flowers that suffered. Our entire food system, farms, markets, and families felt the impact as shelves emptied and crops withered. The silent flower, left alone in a barren landscape, became a haunting symbol of our world's brokenness and the fragility of life's connections. Nature is a beautiful, intricate machine. But without its most critical part, the bee, everything grinds to a halt. The cycle of life, once seamless and self-sustaining, was interrupted, reminding us how even the smallest creatures can hold the fate of the world in their wings. The loss was felt not just on our plates, but in our hearts. Honey, the golden elixir, was gone forever. A pot of honey became a priceless relic. The simple pleasure of honey on toast was a memory. The loss of sweetness went far beyond honey. Fruits, coffee, and countless flavors vanished or became rare. Diets became monotonous, just grains. The world's cuisine lost its richness and joy. Even the air lost its fragrance. Flowers stopped producing sweet scents. Nature became dull, stripped of its sensory pleasures. The world felt harder, grimmer. The great silence was not just soundless, it was joyless. We learned the sweetness of life was tied to the smallest creatures. The disappearance of bees was the first domino in a global collapse. Plants died out, starving herbivores and then predators. The balance of nature unraveled. Forests, meadows, and rivers suffered. Soil eroded, rivers clouded, aquatic life declined. The collapse spread from mountains to riverbeds. Humanity stood at the end of the line, watching in horror. Food systems failed, economies crumbled, societies fractured. We had assumed nature's services were limitless. The bees vanishing taught us we are not separate from nature, we are part of the web of life. When the web tears, we fall with it. The silence spread everywhere. The world was emptier, and so were we. The lesson was brutal, but clear. In the midst of crisis, the most profound questions came from children. Why did the bees leave? They asked. The answer forced us to look at our actions. We poisoned their fields, destroyed their homes, and changed their climate. We replaced diversity with sterile monocultures. We took their honey and food, but didn't care for their world. Their absence forced us to confront the consequences of our choices. But this doesn't have to be our ending. The silence is a warning, not a fate. We can bring the buzzing back, starting in our own backyards. Plant native wildflowers, let lawns grow wild, avoid pesticides. Every flower is a welcome sign for bees. Support farmers who protect pollinators. Our choices at the store are powerful. By supporting bee-friendly farming, we rebuild healthy ecosystems. The story of the bees is a story of hope. Every action counts. Every creature matters. We can be the heroes of this story. Let's promise to listen, remember the buzz, and help life thrive. Let's start today. Plant a flower, let a weed grow, and make a promise to our tiny, vital friends.